Hey everyone, thanks for joining. Of course, back here with Wayne. Pretty exciting topic today. Going to cover some financial highlights, but more importantly, talk about how Tracesafe, how Wayne is going to keep this momentum going into the rest of the year. But first things first, Wayne, how are you?
Doing great, Jason. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, good, awesome, awesome. Well, here, I guess without further ado, do you want to kind of take people through the highlights of kind of the first quarter, and then we'll go into other stuff?
Sure. So I think the first quarter revenue is 1.3 million, but we provided a little bit of visibility on what was happening for the rest of the year. Mainly that's because our revenue, incremental revenue contract size is so big that moving from one quarter to another actually impacts our revenue quite greatly. So looking at a half a year or even a full year probably gives you a much better perspective than getting hyper focused on a quarter by quarter. But yeah, so effectively we've booked sales in addition to the 1.3 revenue recognized. We've booked sales of $2.4 million that we are just executing on and delivering on now. And then we have immediate, at the time of the press release anyways, immediate revenue visibility of 2.1 million. Now a lot of that has actually come to pass. We've got better contractual look at that revenue, so we feel that's more solid and continues to expand. So the customer base, if you look at the way our sales cycle works, these are customers now that we've just been sort of ramping up from November, December timeframe. That's how long our sales cycle is. So, all of the efforts and everything that we've been doing, from the beginning of the year, you're going to start to see that play out in the back half. And so there's going to be a lot of great sales momentum with the Tracesafe team.
Yeah, well, leads right into the kind of questions we've been getting around momentum. How do you plan to keep up with the growth? And so you're saying, hey, first quarter from a sales side, looking to see a bunch of momentum, but that'll show in kind of the second half of the year. Anything else in terms of general kind of, answers to the question, how do you plan to keep this momentum up?
Yeah, so the contracts and business that we're winning now, people are not so much looking at this as a COVID opportunity. What they're seeing it as a general long-term technology partnership with a wearables company that has a great platform and has really a proven ability to partner and work and customize with their customers. So, when you see the cruise ship business, the contact tracing component is a very small piece of what these guys want to accomplish, which is to improve their guest experience, improve how things work on their ships. And we're a partner, we're seen as a partner in that. So that's why these contracts are multi-year contracts, not just very short-term contracts, because they see this as something that they want to continue doing long into the future and long after COVID's finished.
Yeah. And I want to chat, obviously, looks like you guys are absolutely crushing it in the cruise line space. You want to talk about some of the other industries you guys are kind of approaching and seeing a lot of good headway in?
Yeah, I mean, the hospitality business, we see that continuing to grow, continuing to expand. The government side of the business is going very well. We have a lot of interesting new contracts that are happening there, which are, sometimes a result of regulation and sometimes as a result of just kind of continuing the momentum that we had in the earlier parts of the year. The medical sector is a side that we see a lot of potential new growth opportunities. So really government, medical, hospitality, and enterprise are really our core pillars. We see them all growing and continuing to be strong.
Yeah, I know. I want to bring up. I know I got some cool questions too, and it looks like a lot of people in the TraceSafe Telegram are huge hockey fans. Obviously, with the playoffs happening right now, what are you seeing from a kind of event standpoint? Just curious if you can touch on anything.
Yeah, I think in Canada, we're seeing a strong drive for event business. I think as the reopening comes more and more, you're going to see increased amount of business there. But geographically, countries are taking a different approach with how this works. So we're not seeing, kind of a broad US based piece there, but in very specific country verticals, we're seeing very strong demand. So I don't know that contact tracing will be a part of a live um, sport experience, but the market is so big, outside of the venue world. There's also this fact that, and we'll see how it shapes up, but venues are some of the hardest hit from a cash perspective. So a lot of them are just not looking to make those moves at this point. But as we see things kind of ramp up, you will start to see those venues differentiate and put in place different programs. So we'll see how that market develops.
Yeah, awesome. Well, some great insights. So thank you so much. Anything else, kind of general financial highlights, momentum stuff that you want to touch on before we close this off?
No, I think the thing that we want to talk about is, we've delivered a lot of the sort of discussion points that we were talking about at the end of last year, as far as, cruise ships being a major focus. We've really delivered there, and I think you'll see continued follow through as we've rolled out these first couple contracts. There is a lot of momentum behind it, and I think you'll see continued growth in that sector. And as we see this first initial build out, the second component of it is around software. And so, you see this first initial revenue bump, which is a hardware story, but then you have this continuous ongoing revenue model around software that keeps going. So that's one of the things that people may not be fully baking in, is that, as we continue to onboard more customers, we're onboarding on top of a base that's getting very, very high, because every previous customer that gets onboarded continues to pay software revenue. So it's just something to think about, that these wins really start compounding as you move towards the end of the year, where you don't actually see that kind of at the beginning part of a yearly cycle.
Yeah, awesome. Well, look, looking forward to seeing some more great news, some more great wins. And Wayne, as always, thanks for joining.
Thanks, Jason. Appreciate it.